Imagine a young boy, full of dreams, humiliated and expelled from school just because of who he is. But then, a single tweet from his mother catches the attention of Elon Musk. What happens next is a powerful story of justice, redemption, and a transformation that no one saw coming. Stay tuned, because this will leave you speechless. Power, wealth, or a high rank may give you a sense of superiority for a moment, but remember, the day always comes when you're held accountable for your actions. Racism, belittling communities, or disrespecting others based on religion may seem unnoticed now, but justice has a way of finding its mark. Respect is not just about others. It defines who you truly are. Think about it. What will your legacy be? Here in the United States, the law is equal for everyone, no matter your community, race, or religion. Diversity is what makes America strong, and unity is our greatest power. We stand together, respecting one another and sharing a deep love for our country. Patriotism is not just about flags or borders. It's about embracing every individual who calls this land home. In the USA, injustice has no place. Together, we uphold justice, equality, and the shared dream of freedom. We love the USA, and the USA loves all of us. Comments below where you're watching from, and if you like and love our story, kindly subscribe our channel. Life, inspirational, and motivational tales that explore themes of love, unity, and patriotism. Stay with us always for interesting stories. Thanks. Let's start the story. The air outside Crestwood Elementary School was crisp and invigorating, filled with a lively chatter of students and parents. The stately brick facade of the school stood as a beacon of prestige, its reputation for academic excellence widely known. But beneath the polished exterior lingered whispers of bias, tales of students treated differently based on subtle prejudices that rarely made headlines. Today it would host a scene destined to alter its legacy forever. 12-year-old Jamal Carter held tightly to his mother Angela's hand as they approached the entrance. Dressed sharply in his freshly pressed uniform, his shoes gleamed and his backpack was packed with care. Angela, a single mother who worked tirelessly to give her son the best opportunities, looked at him with a mixture of pride and hope. She crouched briefly, her warm hands resting on Jamal's shoulders. "Remember what your dad always said," Angela murmured, her voice filled with emotion. "You're destined for great things. Show them who you are, Jamal. You belong here as much as anyone else." Jamal nodded, his dark eyes sparkling with determination. "I got this, Mom," he said confidently. His smile radiated his eagerness to start this new chapter. Inside the bustling halls of Crestwood, Martha Whitmore prepared for the day in her classroom. The middle-aged teacher adjusted her glasses and meticulously arranged her desk, her movements deliberate and methodical. Martha was known for her no-nonsense demeanor and insistence on order, but her name often surfaced in quiet conversations among parents who had noticed her tendency to treat some children with less warmth than others. She wore her professionalism like armor, concealing her ingrained biases behind a veil of strictness. As the first bell rang, students began filing into her classroom, chattering about summer vacations and the excitement of a new school year. Martha greeted them with polite, perfunctory nods, Her sharp eyes scanned each child as they entered, her mental checklist of expectations already ticking. Then, Jamal walked in. His steps faltered momentarily under Martha's piercing gaze, but he recovered quickly, offering her a polite smile. "Good morning, ma'am," he said, his voice steady but hopeful. "I'm Jamal Carter. This is my first day." Martha's lips thinned, her eyes sweeping over him from head to toe. Something in her demeanor shifted. Her posture stiffened, her face adopting an expression of practiced neutrality that did little to mask the disapproval in her eyes. "Well, Mr. Carter," she said, her tone clipped, "I hope you understand that we maintain high standards here. Let's see if you can keep up." The warmth in Jamal's expression dimmed slightly, but he nodded. "Yes, ma'am," he replied, his voice quieter now. Angela stood in the doorway, watching the exchange with an uneasy smile. She had noticed the subtle shift in Martha's tone, the undercurrent of judgment that rippled through her words. Her instincts told her to say something, but she hesitated. Confronting a teacher on the first day could make things harder for Jamal. She chose to observe, for now. Martha turned her attention back to her classroom, gesturing toward the desks. "You can sit there," she said, pointing toward a seat in the farthest corner. It was isolated from the rest of the students, a position that seemed more like an afterthought than a welcoming gesture. Jamal hesitated, the joy of his first day dimming further as he glanced at the empty desk. Still, he walked to his assigned spot, carefully placing his backpack beside him. He kept his chin up, but Angela noticed the slight slump in his shoulders as he sat down. Her heart ached, but she held her ground, offering him an encouraging smile before leaving the room. "You're stronger than this, Jamal," she thought to herself. "Show them what you're made of." The classroom buzzed with activity as other students settled in, oblivious to the tension that hung in the air. But Martha's dismissiveness lingered like a shadow over Jamal, casting a pall on what should have been a day of excitement and opportunity. The sun shone brightly over Crestwood Elementary, the sound of laughter and running footsteps filling the air during recess. Inside, Martha Whitmore's classroom was a study in order and control, or so she liked to believe. Jamal Carter, seated quietly at his desk, worked diligently on his assignment. As he wrote, a soft hum escaped his lips, an unconscious tune of contentment. The melody was barely audible, yet Martha's eyes snapped toward him as though he'd shouted. "Jamal Carter," she barked, her tone sharp and unforgiving. The classroom fell silent, all eyes turning toward the boy. "Do you think this is a concert hall?" Startled, Jamal looked up, his eyes wide with confusion. "No, ma'am," he said quickly. "I didn't mean to." "Enough," Martha interrupted, her voice cutting through his explanation. "Disruptive behavior will not be tolerated here. If you can't follow the rules, perhaps you don't belong in this classroom." The words stung. Jamal's cheeks burned as he mumbled an apology, his shoulders hunching under the weight of Martha's glare. Around the room, students exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the unfairness of the rebuke. Some shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others cast sympathetic looks toward Jamal. He returned to his work, his pencil trembling slightly in his hand. The joy he had felt at being part of Crestwood's elite learning environment was slipping away, replaced by a growing sense of alienation. Later that day, during recess, Jamel joined a group of boys playing tag on the schoolyard. For a brief moment, he felt like a regular kid, laughing as he weaved between his classmates. But fate seemed determined to stack the odds against him. In the heat of the game, Jamal accidentally bumped into another boy, knocking him over. The boy wasn't hurt. He stood up quickly, brushing off his clothes and resuming the game without a second thought. But Marta, watching from a distance, saw an opportunity to assert her authority. She stormed across the playground, her voice ringing out over the laughter. "Jamal Carter, what do you think you're doing?" Jamal froze, his heart sinking. I didn't mean to." "Enough excuses," she snapped. "This kind of aggressive behavior is unacceptable. You're a danger to other students." The other children stopped playing, their eyes darting between Jamal and Martha. The boy, who had been bumped into, tried to speak up, but Martha silenced him with a stern look. "Go inside," she commanded, and the children obeyed, leaving Jamal standing alone under her withering gaze. By the time Martha had finished her tirade, she had already summoned the principal. "This boy has no place at Crestwood," she declared, her tone final. "He's disruptive, disrespectful, and now violent. I demand his immediate expulsion." The principal, caught off guard by Marta's fervor, hesitated but ultimately agreed. Jamal was sent to the office, his heart heavy with confusion and fear. He didn't understand how things had spiraled so far out of control. Angela was called to the school, her stomach twisting into knots when she heard the principal's words. "We've decided that Jamal is not a good fit for Crestwood," he said, avoiding her eyes. "It's in the best interest of everyone if he leaves." Angela's voice trembled with anger and disbelief. "This is absurd. You're punishing him for what? Humming? Playing tag? This isn't justice, it's discrimination." Martha, standing nearby, crossed her arms. "We maintain high standards here, Mrs. Carter," she said coolly. "Your son's behavior doesn't align with them." Despite Angela's desperate pleas and attempts to defend her son, her words fell on deaf ears. By the end of the day, Jamal was officially expelled, a decision that left Angela heartbroken and furious. That evening, Angela sat at the kitchen table staring at the letter of expulsion in disbelief. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were quickly replaced by determination. She refused to let her son's dignity be stripped away without a fight. Opening her laptop, Angela poured her heart into a social media post, recounting the events with raw honesty. She described Jamal's excitement on his first day, the unjust treatment he had endured, and the crushing blow of his expulsion. "My son was punished not for what he did, but for who he is," she wrote. "This cannot continue." Within hours, her post began to gain traction. Comments of support poured in, with strangers expressing outrage at the injustice. Parents shared similar experiences, while educators called out the systemic biases that allowed such incidents to occur. The hashtag Justice for Jamal began trending, spreading like wildfire across platforms. The story caught the attention of activists, journalists, and even celebrities who amplified Angela's voice. Among those who saw the post was Elon Musk, a vocal advocate for innovation and equity. Struck by Angela's story, Musk decided to take action, setting the stage for a turning point no one could have foreseen. Elon Musk's days were typically packed with meetings, innovations, and decisions that shape the future of industries. But when Angela Carter's heartfelt post about Jamal's expulsion crossed his feed, everything else paused. The words resonated deeply. A child punished for circumstances beyond his control, a family left to fight the battle they should never have faced. Scrolling through the flood of comments and retweets, Elon saw a groundswell of public support for Angela and Jamal. Yet what struck him most was Angela's resolve to stand up not just for her son, but for the broader injustice she had exposed. He leaned back in his chair, his expression firm. "Let's do something about this," he said, reaching for his phone. The call to his team was brief but resolute. By the next morning, arrangements were underway to contact Angela directly. Within days, she received an email from Elon Musk's office offering not just support, but a chance to meet and discuss how they could address what had happened at Crestwood Elementary. Angela read the message twice, disbelief mingling with hope. Could someone as influential as Elon Musk really care about their story? But when she looked at Jamal, her resolve solidified. She replied with a grateful yes, her heart racing at what this could mean for her son. One crisp morning, the tranquil atmosphere of Crestwood Elementary was shattered by the sight of sleek electric vehicles pulling into the parking lot. Elon Musk stepped out, accompanied by a legal team, educational consultants, and a handful of media representatives. News of his visit had spread quickly, and curious parents gathered at the edges of the school grounds, murmuring excitedly. Principal Bennett, alerted moments before Elon's arrival, scrambled to compose himself. His usual air of authority faltered as he greeted Elon at the front steps, his voice tinged with nervousness. "Mr. Musk, this is a surprise. What brings you to Crestwood?" Elon's gaze was calm but penetrating. "I'm here because I read about Jamal Carter," he said simply, "and I believe this school owes him and his family a serious explanation." Principal Bennett's confidence cracked under Elon's steady presence. "Of course we're happy to discuss the matter. Let's step into my office." Inside the principal's office, the tension was palpable as Elon laid out his expectations. "I want a meeting with the school board, and I want it today," he said, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. "We're going to address what happened to Jamal Carter, and we're going to make things right." Within hours, the school board convened in the auditorium. Elon stood at the front of the room, his presence commanding attention. Angela and Jamal sat nearby, Angela's hand resting protectively on her son's shoulder. The school staff, including Martha Whitmore, filled the rows, their faces a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Elon began by recounting the events that led to Jamal's expulsion, his words precise and unflinching. He presented Angela's social media post as evidence, along with testimonies from other parents and students who had come forward since the story went viral. "What happened here is a clear example of systemic bias," Elon said, his voice steady. "This school failed to provide a safe and supportive environment for one of its students. Instead, it allowed personal prejudice to dictate decisions, resulting in harm not just to Jamal, but to the integrity of this institution." Principal Bennett described himself as a massively successful trader long before he met Mr. Bennett of Bennett and Minosa. Elon raised a hand, silencing him. If that were true, Jamal Carter would still be a student here. This isn't about empty assurances. It's about accountability and change. The room fell silent, the weight of Elon's words pressing down on everyone present. He turned to the board members. Crestwood has an opportunity here. You can either take meaningful action to address these issues, or you can face the full force of public scrutiny. I'm offering to help implement reforms that will make this school a model of inclusivity and fairness, but only if you're willing to change. The board members exchanged uneasy glances, realizing the gravity of the situation. One by one, they nodded their agreement. Next, Elon addressed Martha directly. Ms. Whitmore, your actions toward Jamal were not just unprofessional, they were harmful. You failed to uphold the basic principles of teaching: fairness, respect, and compassion. Martha, who had been sitting stiffly, tried to defend herself. I was simply enforcing the rules, Mr. Musk. It's my job to maintain order. Order at the expense of a child's dignity? Ellen interrupted, his tone sharper now. You singled out Jamal for reasons that had nothing to do with his behavior or his ability to learn. That's not maintaining order, that's perpetuating prejudice. Martha's face reddened as she shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I didn't mean to. But you did, Elon cut her off, and your actions have consequences. Cornered and overwhelmed, Martha's resolve crumbled. Tears welled in her eyes as she muttered, I never intended to hurt anyone. Well, I'll step down if that's what's needed. Elon nodded, his expression softening slightly. Acknowledging your mistakes is the first step. I hope you'll use this experience to reflect and grow. Martha rose from her seat and left the room, her resignation marking the end of an era at Crestwood Elementary. For the remaining staff and board members, the message was clear. The status quo was no longer acceptable. As the meeting concluded, Elon turned to Angela and Jamal, his expression warm. This is just the beginning, he said. Jamal deserves a place where he can thrive, and we're going to make sure he has it. Angela's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. Thank you, she whispered, for believing in us. Elon smiled at Jamal. The future belongs to kids like you. Don't let anyone dim your light. With that, Elon left Crestwood Elementary, leaving behind a community forever changed by his presence and determination to make a difference. The reforms at Crestwood Elementary began swiftly under Elon Musk's guidance. The school, once a microcosm of entrenched biases, now bristled with the energy of change. The board, spurred by Elon's intervention and the public spotlight, wasted no time implementing his recommendations. What had been a reactive institution was transforming into a proactive hub for inclusivity and equality. Elon's first directive was clear. Every member of the staff, from the janitors to the board, would undergo mandatory diversity and inclusivity training. The sessions, led by leading experts in education and cultural sensitivity, were designed to challenge biases, foster empathy, and promote fairness. Teachers who had once operated with unchecked authority now faced their own prejudices head-on. Principal Bennett, humbled by the events, approached the changes with a renewed sense of purpose. "We're building something better," he told the staff during the first training session. "Our school should reflect the values we want our children to carry into the world." To ensure accountability, the school board implemented a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination. They established a clear system for reporting and addressing grievances, ensuring that students and parents felt safe and heard. Crestwood Elementary was no longer just a prestigious institution, it was becoming a model for equity in education. One of the most significant changes was the formation of a student council. Elon believed that empowering students to have a say in their school's culture was crucial. The council, made up of students from diverse backgrounds, met regularly to discuss issues and propose solutions. Jamal Carter, despite the challenges he had faced, was elected as one of the council's first members. His quiet strength and determination inspired his people to fight for themselves. For Jamal, returning to Crestwood was a moment of triumph. With his expulsion overturned and Elon Musk's unwavering support, he was greeted warmly by teachers, students, and even the principal. The same corridors that had once felt oppressive now felt like a place of promise. Jamal held his head high as he walked to his classroom, a new confidence shining in his eyes. Elon went further than just ensuring Jamal's return. He sponsored Jamal's education, providing scholarships and mentorship. Through regular check-ins, he offered guidance, encouraging Jamal to dream big and embrace his potential. "Remember," Elon told him during one of their meetings, "challenges are opportunities in disguise. What happened to you doesn't define you. How you rise above it does." Jamal took those words to heart. He threw himself into his studies, excelling in math and science. Inspired by Elon's journey as an entrepreneur, he started working on small projects in his free time, from building simple robotics to coding games. His teachers, now more attuned to their students' individual strengths, nurtured his interests and celebrated his progress. Meanwhile, Angela Carter found her voice as an advocate for educational equity. Her initial social media post had sparked a movement, and now she was working alongside Elon to bring attention to similar injustices in other schools. She spoke at town hall meetings and educational conferences, sharing Jamal's story and calling for systemic change, she would say. They deserve to be seen, heard, and valued. Angela's efforts resonated far beyond Crestwood. Parents from other communities reached out, sharing their own stories and seeking advice. Angela, with Elon's support, began collaborating with educational organizations to develop programs that addressed biases and promoted inclusivity on a broader scale. Crestwood Elementary, once a symbol of exclusion, was now a beacon of hope. Students from all backgrounds thrived in the new environment, supported by teachers who had embraced the lessons of their training. The culture of the school had shifted dramatically. Acts of kindness and mutual respect became the norm, and students who once felt invisible now felt empowered. Even Principal Bennett acknowledged the profound impact of Elon's intervention. "Sometimes it takes someone from the outside to show us what we're missing," he admitted during a staff meeting. "We owe it to ourselves and to our students to keep building on this foundation." As the months passed, Jamal's story continued to inspire. He became a local hero, featured in articles and interviews about the transformative power of resilience and advocacy. Yet, Jamal remained humble, crediting his mother and Elon for their unwavering belief in him. The changes at Crestwood rippled through the community. Parents felt more engaged, students felt more supported, and teachers felt a renewed sense of purpose. Angela often found herself approached by parents at the school gates, thanking her for standing up and paving the way for change. At the end of the school year, Crestwood Elementary hosted a special assembly. Jamal, flanked by Angela and Elon, stood on the stage as Principal Bennett addressed the crowd. "This year has been one of transformation," he said. "And it's all because people like Angela and Jamal reminded us of what truly matters: fairness, respect, and the courage to do what's right." The audience erupted in applause, parents and students alike moved by the journey they'd witnessed. Jamal, holding the microphone, took a moment to gather his thoughts. "I didn't think I'd be standing here today," he began, his voice steady. "But my mom always told me that when things get tough, you keep going. And Mr. Musk taught me that challenges are just chances to grow. So thank you for believing in me." Elon watched proudly from the side, knowing that this was just the beginning. For Jamal, for Angela, and for every student who had ever been overlooked, the future was brighter than ever. Martha Whitmore's resignation marked a turning point not just for Crestwood Elementary, but for her own journey of self-discovery. Stripped of the authority that had once defined her, Martha found herself grappling with questions she had long avoided. What had driven her to make such quick, harmful judgments? How had she allowed biases to cloud her responsibilities as an educator? Determined to make amends, Martha began attending workshops on diversity, equity, and implicit bias. The sessions forced her to confront uncomfortable truths about herself, her upbringing, and the systemic inequalities that had shaped her worldview. Slowly but steadily, she began to unlearn the prejudices that had influenced her decisions. As part of her journey, Martha reached out to Angela Carter and Jamal. The meeting was tense at first. Angela, protective of her son, was wary of Martha's intentions, but as Martha spoke, her voice tinged with regret. Angela sensed the sincerity in her words. "I'm sorry," Martha said, her eyes brimming with tears. "I failed you, and I failed Jamal. There's no excuse for what I did, but I promise to do better. For him and for every student I encounter moving forward." Angela remained silent for a moment before nodding. "Apology accepted," she said cautiously. "But accountability isn't just words, it's actions. I hope you're ready for the work that comes with it." For Jamal, the apology was an unexpected but welcome closure. "It's not about forgetting," he told Martha. "It's about learning and making sure no one else has to go through what I did." While Martha worked on rebuilding herself, Jamal thrived in the supportive environment fostered by Elon Musk's involvement. With access to resources, mentorship, and encouragement, Jamal began to shine in ways even Angela hadn't imagined. He excelled academically, often leading his class in science and math. Outside the classroom, he participated in community service projects, emerging as a leader among his peers. Elon, ever the mentor, maintained regular contact with Jamal. During one of their meetings, Elon presented Jamal with a small but meaningful project, designing a blueprint for a community initiative that could help other students facing similar challenges. Jamal embraced the task wholeheartedly, creating a mentorship program where older students supported younger ones in navigating school life. Jamal's efforts didn't go unnoticed. By the end of the school year, he had won several awards for his academic excellence and community involvement. He was even invited to speak at local events, where he shared his story of resilience and the importance of kindness. "I've learned that it's not about what people see when they look at you," Jamal said during one of his speeches. "It's about what you do when they try to hold you back. You don't let them define you. You show them who you really are." Crestwood Elementary, too, underwent a remarkable transformation. Once plagued by subtle biases, the school became a beacon of inclusivity. Parents from diverse backgrounds, inspired by the changes, eagerly enrolled their children. The student council, now a cornerstone of the school's culture, provided students with a platform to voice their concerns and ideas, providing a sense of community and belonging. Angela, meanwhile, became a prominent advocate for educational equity. Collaborating with Elon, she launched initiatives aimed at tackling systemic biases in schools nationwide. Her story, once a tale of frustration and heartbreak, had become a powerful example of resilience and the impact of collective action. Even Martha found a way to contribute to the school's evolving legacy. Though no longer a teacher at Crestwood, she volunteered to mentor new educators, sharing her story as a cautionary tale. "I made mistakes," she would tell them, "but mistakes can be our greatest teachers if we're willing to learn." The end-of-year assembly at Crestwood Elementary was a celebration like no other. The auditorium was packed with parents, teachers, and students, all eager to reflect on the school's incredible journey. Jamal stood on the stage, his presence commanding yet humble. As he addressed the crowd, his words carried the weight of his experience. "This year taught me that change is possible," he said. "We all deserve a chance to be seen for who we truly are, not judged by what others assume. And when we work together, we can create a world where everyone belongs." The room erupted in applause. Angela, sitting in the front row, wiped away tears of pride as she watched her son grow into a leader. Beside her, Elon nodded with satisfaction, knowing that his intervention had sparked something far greater than he'd anticipated. As the assembly concluded, Jamal stepped down from the stage, greeted by hugs and congratulations from his classmates and teachers. The future, once clouded by prejudice and pain, now seemed boundless with possibility. Crestwood Elementary had become more than just a school. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when people came together to challenge biases and champion inclusivity. And at the heart of it all was Jamal, a young boy whose courage and perseverance had inspired an entire community to rise above its shortcomings and embrace the power of change. Do you believe in second chances and standing up against injustice? Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever faced or witnessed a moment like this in real life? Tell us your story. We'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that inspire change. Power, wealth, or a high rank may give you a sense of superiority for a moment, but remember, the day always comes when you're held accountable for your actions. Racism, belittling communities, or disrespecting others based on religion may seem unnoticed now, but justice has a way of finding its mark. Respect is not just about others. It defines who you truly are. Think about it. What will your legacy be? Comments below where you're watching from, and if you like and love our story, kindly subscribe our channel. Life, inspirational, and motivational tales that explore themes of love, unity, and patriotism. Stay with us always for interesting stories.